Hey y'all, happy Friday. So we ended yesterday with me sharing this revelation again. This may be nothing to you, but it was a lot to me. I suppose I had just always seen it. This is one of those accounts that we learn as children in Sunday school and children's church. It's Peter walking on the water. And I suppose in my head, I saw it different. I never put the whole account together. And how many hundreds of times have I read this particular passage? But I suppose I saw the weather differently when Peter said, "Tell me to come," him stepping out and him sinking. I never really put all the pieces together that the same very strong, tempestuous wind, this violent agitation and stream of air was going on the whole time. It was windy and strong and tempestuous and dangerous when Peter said, "Lord, if it's you, tell me come." Because it says in verse 24 that the boat was very distant from the land and was beaten and tossed by the waves. So the boat seemingly, I'm not going to go as far as saying it was in trouble, but it was, the King James says, "But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary." It was against them. And so when Peter stepped out of the boat, the wind was still contrary. It was still against them. And yet he stepped out. He didn't have any problem stepping out of the boat. It never says, "Oh, Peter hesitated before he got out of the boat." It says, Jesus said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came towards Jesus. But then he saw and he perceived and he realized and he felt. I love that the Amplified added that he felt, because, we can see things going on and we know there's pressure and we know it's hard, and we know it's tumultuous, right? Or tempestuous. We know that there are things going on in the world and we can see them, but when we begin to feel them, it becomes more difficult to persevere because we're fighting those feelings. Again, it's the sense-based knowledge. Back in the garden, they could see, they were not blind, but when they saw with their natural eyes, when they disobeyed God, when they followed the voice of the enemy, they took their focus off of what he said and rationalized what Satan said. And I see me in this so much. Again, just waiting, right, for the less tempestuous wind, the less contrary wind. And don't you know that the enemy doesn't want us to step out into the word. He doesn't want us to step out into the place where God is calling us. And so things are contrary to us. We live in the world. We're not of the world. We're aliens and pilgrims here on a journey. And so things are against us. And if I am waiting for the opportune moment to step out, I'm never going to step out. And so there was no change in the external circumstance when Peter stepped out of the boat. He stepped out of the boat and came towards Jesus on the word of Jesus in the midst of the tempestuous, violent, agitated wind. And even when he didn't look at Jesus, when he realized, when he saw, when he felt the wind, the wind storm, I'm just going to call it a storm. And he was frightened, so the circumstance scared him, and he began to sink. But when he cried out, instantly, Jesus reached out his hand and held him. Instantly. I want to be brave enough in the midst of the wind storm, in the midst of the tempestuous and agitated are violent terms. They're not friendly terms. So in the midst of the harsh wind that is trying to beat me and blow me, like it says, the boat is tossed by the waves. It was contrary to them, beaten by the waves. That I still choose to come at his word. And that when my eyes begin to see things other than Jesus, other than the word, which said to me, come, right? He called me to come. Let's go to Philippians 4, verse 8. And he says, for the rest, or finally, brethren, whatever is true, whatever is worthy, whatever is honest. Let's read it from the King James because we all know that one. Whatever things are true, whatever things are honest, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, and whatever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think on, weigh in, and take account of these things. Fix your mind on them. Let that be where my mind goes, Lord. I'm going to choose to fix my mind on the good and the honest and the true and the lovely and the just and the things that are of good report. I'm going to set and keep my mind set. Help me, Holy Spirit, regardless of the wind that is blowing around me, that when my eyes begin to get distracted, when my eyes begin to see the peril that lies around me, that I fix my eyes on the word, that I think and meditate on the good things. True, honest, pure, just. Y'all, that's Jesus. And if he called me, then he is able to keep me. He is the author and finisher of my faith. And he who began the good work in me is faithful to complete it. He didn't call Peter out of the boat to watch him die. He didn't call Peter out of the boat for him to sink. He called Peter out of the boat for him to walk in the miraculous. Y'all, I'm about to have church sitting here at my desk. He called Peter out of the boat for Peter to move in a different dimension, for him to do things that had never been done before, that no man had ever done. Jesus comes walking on the water. Peter says, you tell me to come, I'll come. God, may we take you for your word. Holy Spirit, reveal to us the next steps that you have for us. Oh, burn within us a desire and a craving for your word. Call us to remembrance that we choose what we think on, and that we can stop and redirect our thoughts to the things that are true and honest and just and pure and lovely. We can fix our minds on them. I'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.